So I'm Brendan. I've worked as an engineer for at least 11 years. I've also volunteered in the area for uh, as an ALP volunteer, though this is not, I do this as my own volition and I'm not being paid or sponsored. And I was a volunteer for the ALP anyway. Before I get accused of anything, I'm quite happy to support. Um, Anyway, I want to talk about the train line, and particularly how it basically should be from Mentone, well, at least Mentone to at least Mordialloc Creek, because this is the area I know best. I grew up in Parkdale and live in Mordialloc and lived for about 35 years in the area. Uh, so Rose rail is definitely the best option. There's 5 options really. One is to completely remove the train line, which very few people I think actually would want or support, though there are some in the area. This is ridiculous, but there are a few. Not going to talk about that anymore. Also, the other option is to keep it the same as what it is, which is to uh, keep the train line at the same level. You basically might as well close off all the crossings, all the road crossings and pedestrian crossings in the area then, and just have the whole beach side of the railway line cut off. And that's not an option really, I think, either. So I'm cancelling that out straight away. So then you're left with 3 options, which are raised rail, which is the best option of the 3, and a ditch, which means it's open at the top and exposed, and a tunnel, which is basically a fairway underground. Uh, the strongest argument is probably the water argument, in my opinion, against it. So if it rains or if there's a bit of well, if it rains, mainly would be the only issue with the raised rail, in which case you can easily have it drain underneath. So that's not at all an issue for the raised rail. Um, under so a ditch, it can flood. It can flood from both uh, uh, just the rain. You need to um, somehow get the rainwater out, and it will be concrete all around the sides. You can have it, you say, drain into the dirt underneath, but it's very close to the water table. And that's the other issue with it, just the water table rising, and then your drain system feeds your can I should say can feed the flood the tracks too, and then you've shut down the train line. The other option is the tunnel, in which case water is even worse than in the other situation where it can still flood the train line. But you've also got to then, when you build the thing, you're probably going into water, so you've got to go further to the sides to dig down. Now, as far as the building of, it's really just that simple. As far as building up goes, all you've got to do is build up for raised rail, which is what people are calling sky rail, but traditionally it's been called raised rail everywhere else in the world, and we came up with this term sky rail. Well, the Herald Sun did. So anyway, uh, when it comes to the other two, you've got to dig and build. So as far as cost and time goes, that's more consuming. So you'll have a longer project, and it'll cost more. You can also, if it's raised, have a lot of it prefab. There'll be a station, I think, in where roughly the stations are, and they'll exit roughly where they are, or there might be 2 at the end, so there might be more exits. Uh, but in either case, you need to raise or lower people or to get to level and come out the other sides. If you raise the train line, it takes up less area space underneath, so you gain all the space underneath. which is a huge plus for the raised rail. If you have a ditch, you have basically a suicide trap almost. There'll probably be some sort of fence, but people can easily get through that. There's a higher chance, to, yeah, like they're stuck once they're in there too, if they change their mind, Uh, you've got a better chance of getting out of the raised rail system than you do the ditch or the tunnel. Harder to get in the tunnel, but the ditch, definitely, there's a huge problem there. Also with graffiti, it'd be the pylons, which it'd be like a third of what they have on the posters they have of those pylons to support the raised rail, if that. If you go down though, yeah, people get stuck. Graffiti, you're not going to get that off anytime soon. You can't just go to, like, the newsagents offers kits just to clean it if you wanted to as the general public, and if it's really offensive, they'll just wipe it off themselves, state or local government or whoever is in charge of that. You can definitely have for raised rail, if it's in a ditch or a tunnel, which it will, there'll be people who get in there and will graffiti it. You'll never get that off. It's like the bridges. Like the bridges where it goes over. Like once that starts happening, it'll just be there forever, unless it's really offensive, in which case it'll cost more to get someone to go down there and clean it, and it won't be general public person doing it. It'll be train services, basically. Uh, yeah, when it comes to that, a lot of other issues. So if they do have it go down, basically where the dentist is and those things, either option, like that's destroyed. That business is taken, seized by the government, those little bits of houses. If there's a tunnel, it's very likely it'll have to be supported from the sides because of where the water table is, which is the really bad part about the tunnel for this particular area of the train track. It's basically going to close off both sides of the streets that run either side, at least, if it doesn't go to where all the shops are. Um, to support it from the sides, you have to be able to support it underneath. So you can't just dig straight down. You'll have to have, once it hits the water table, like you can't put the digging machines there too. So that's all closed off. All those businesses are closed, seized. You